nobody in this league who gets a worse call.
There was a time in the NBA when defenses created an entire scheme known as the Jordan rules. But in today's game, there's a new unwritten strategy in place. You could call it the Steph rule, because no other superstar in the league is defended the way Stephen Curry is.
Both who are making contact and holding on to him. Then, as he breaks free, his primary defender wraps him up with both arms, literally bear hugging him.
Turn on a Warriors game and pay attention. It's impossible to miss. At 37 years old, Stephen Curry is still being hounded every single possession. Defenders deny him the ball, cling to him off screens, bump him off his routes, and shadow him everywhere he moves. The kind of contact that would instantly draw a whistle for most superstars somehow slides when it comes to Curry, and more often than not, the league allows it to continue.
Referees just kind of let it slide, right? The grabbing, the holding, jumping under him when he shoot. Like, people do whatever they.
So why is this allowed to happen to someone widely considered a top 5 to 7 player ever? Does it have something to do with Stephen Curry's style, his demeanor, and is there any real connection to what Michael Jordan faced decades ago? Let's break it down. Back in the late 80s, the Detroit Pistons engineered what became known as the Jordan rules, a defensive system designed to wear Michael Jordan down with relentless physical punishment whenever he attacked the rim. The philosophy was blunt: if you couldn't contain him within the rules, you pushed the limits of them. The league isn't nearly as brutal today as it was then, but in many ways, what Curry experiences mirrors that idea. The key difference: Jordan absorbed contact with the ball in his hands. Curry endures it before he even gets a touch. And that distinction matters. Curry's off-ball foul rate is outrageous. This isn't about debatable contact on drives to the basket. It's about defenders clutching him, steering him off course, locking onto his body as he flies around screens. Sometimes officials genuinely miss it in the chaos. Other times they see it and swallow the whistle anyway. Warriors head coach Steve Kerr has repeatedly said that the way Curry is guarded stands alone in today's NBA. The constant top blocking, the face guarding, the grabbing far from the rim, Kerr has argued those should be automatic calls. Instead, they're frequently ignored. What makes it even more puzzling is that the NBA has spent years promoting freedom of movement, specifically to eliminate holding and perimeter clutching. Yet at 37 years old, Curry continues to be bumped and restrained with little relief. Unlike most superstars, Curry doesn't dominate through isolation. His greatness begins with motion. He may not be the fastest player on the floor, but defenders panic because they're perpetually a step behind, and they're behind because if he gains even an inch of daylight, the possession is basically over. Draymond Green summed it up perfectly in the simplest way possible.
Curry's rate of being fouled off the ball is mind-numbingly ridiculous.
Most elite players strike fear when they clear out a side and go one-on-one. Stephen Curry does it without even touching the ball. The panic starts the moment he begins weaving through defenders. His gravity isn't activated by a series of dribbles. It's created by constant motion. For years, the numbers have backed this up. Tracking data shows Curry covers nearly 2.5 miles every game. And even at 37, he hasn't slowed that engine. He's relocating to the corner, slicing through the lane, looping around screens, then setting another one. Over and over again. Defending him isn't about surviving one move. It's about staying locked in every second he's on the floor. Eventually, that non-stop chase wears you down, and when defenders get tired, they fall back on the easiest countermeasure available. They grab him.
Steph just as much off the ball, if not more, than they do on him.
But everyone in the building understands the math. Give Stephen Curry even half a step, and the possession is likely ending with 3 points. So instead of surrendering space, defenders often surrender the rule book. The result? The most lethal off-ball weapon in basketball is defended like he's already mid-shot before he even catches a pass. Opponents know that if they guard him straight up, they'll spend the entire night fighting through screens and turning around to watch another jumper splash through. So they make a choice. They grab early, they bump repeatedly, and they gamble that the officials won't call it. Too frequently, that bet pays off, even though by definition it's illegal. But this isn't only about free throws. A whistle doesn't just award points, it changes behavior. When a scorer consistently gets to the line, defenders become cautious. They give more cushion, and that shift reshapes the entire floor. We've seen it with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Teams defend him carefully to avoid foul trouble, often conceding space as a result. Now imagine defenses treating Curry that way, backing off to stay out of harm's reach. Some fans have been waiting to see what that version of the game would look like.
Of an inch to get the shot off, and it's a great look. So they just grab and hold him. And he just keep moving, and they just grab him and hold him.
Stephen Curry has already soared up the all-time scoring list, and he's done it with one of the lowest free throw rates you'll find among high-usage superstars. When he crossed the 25,000-point mark, he had taken fewer trips to the line than almost anyone in his scoring tier. Every bucket has felt earned, which makes you wonder, why does it always seem like the margin for him is thinner than for everyone else? Draymond Green has his own theory. On his podcast, he suggested Curry may actually be at a disadvantage because of his temperament. As Draymond put it, Steph doesn't berate officials. He's not constantly in their ear. Referees know he's unlikely to explode on them over a missed call. And according to Draymond, that restraint might cost him. In a league where lobbying can influence perception, staying quiet may work against you. That idea exposes something uncomfortable about today's officiating environment. Players who amplify contact, who sell the bump, who make sure the refs feel it. They often tilt the gray area calls in their favor. Meanwhile, the subtle holds, the off-ball grabs, the borderline fouls can stack up unnoticed if no one is campaigning for the whistle. There's a bigger numbers conversation here too. Fun, Curry already owns one of the most efficient true shooting percentages the league has ever seen. If you even slightly raise his free throw volume to match other MVP level guards, that efficiency climbs higher. And if defenders were forced to play him within tighter boundaries, his movement without the ball would become even more devastating. Some analysts have argued that with a whistle comparable to his peers, he could realistically be flirting with the high 30s in points per game at 37 years old. So this isn't just a debate about fairness, it's about how history will frame his greatness. The NBA has long taught us that drawing fouls is a skill, and the legends of the game mastered it.
I want him to average 10 free throws a game just because he does get fouled.
And throughout NBA history, the elite have known how to use leverage, footwork, and an anticipation to force defenders into mistakes and manufacture contact. Draymond Green didn't sugarcoat it, he said it straight up.
Haterade still, because at the end of the day, drawing fouls is a part of the game. It's actually a skill. It's actually a skill.
There's a clear distinction between taking contact and performing it for the whistle. Stephen Curry takes it. He doesn't dramatize it. You won't see him spending entire possessions pleading his case to the referees. And that's usually when the Michael Jordan comparison comes up. Critics like Charles Barkley have at times minimized Curry's place in the all-time conversation, arguing that he wouldn't have survived the bruising physical era Jordan dominated, implying Steph isn't built for that kind of punishment.
Flopping and flailing in this league, and Steph does neither.
That storyline has started to feel like gospel, but context is everything. Yes, Michael Jordan played in a far more physical era, but as his career advanced, he also received the kind of superstar treatment that tilted calls in his favor. There came a point where defenders could barely breathe on MJ without hearing a whistle.
Think about this, Dan. Let's be realistic. You know how much I love Steph Curry, correct?
Yeah.
You think he could take that beating that Michael got against the Bad Boys Pistons? Come on, Dan. Please stop it. I mean, the game was just so much more physical.
Yo, I mean, don't you remember the one where the Olympics one, where I think it was Magic, and they're taking that picture of the Olympics, and Magic's like, oh, can't get the close to Mike. Yeah, can't touch Mike. Right?
And yet here he is at 37, still taking contact, still fighting through grabs, while some insist he wouldn't have survived the Bad Boy Pistons. The irony? All of this is happening in what's marketed as the NBA's freedom of movement era. That's where the conversation starts to feel uncomfortable. The league's biggest business partnerships are closely tied to Nike. Stephen Curry notably is not a Nike athlete, so it raises a question. Is that purely coincidence, or could it play some small role in how the whistle swings? Because if we're being real, if Curry consistently received the kind of superstar calls Michael Jordan earned later in his career, or the type Shai Gilgeous-Alexander gets today, how much higher would his numbers climb? How many more banners might hang in Golden State? Is anyone intentionally minimizing his dominance? There's no way to prove that, but the question lingers. What we do know is this: Curry is defended the way he is because traditional coverage simply doesn't work. Teams bend the rules because playing him straight up is a losing strategy, and maybe that's the most telling part of all. He's built a historic resume while being held, bumped, and rerouted on nearly every trip down the floor. So what does that say? It says Stephen Curry isn't just the greatest shooter the league has ever witnessed. He may be the only superstar in NBA history whose dominance begins before he even touches the basketball. If you see it differently, drop your perspective in the comments. And if you're hungry for more NBA breakdowns and stories, tap into the next video on your screen.